Hello, Beachy! And in this one, we're going to do a bit of an experiment. Probably not very scientific, but it's how to get a rusted bolt out of a bush. Okay, if you work in cars at all, I'm sure you've came across a problem like this or something similar. So what we'll have is a bolt in a bush. Now, this could be a bolt in a strut, or it could be a pinch bolt, or it could be something like that. But it's especially difficult whenever it's in a bush. So if these rust in, that can be a real pain. So this is a new old stock wishbone, which probably will end up being sacrificed. I don't think I'm ever going to use it. It's been lying about for a long time. As you can see, the ball joint there is quite rusty, and the inside that sleeve's quite rusty. That is not the bolt for that, but I just had a hook through the box there, and that fits that as well as you'll get. So there's hardly any movement inside that bush there, or the sleeve in the bush. So yeah, some manufacturers, they have the foresight of putting a flat spot on the bolt, and that prevents the build up. These things corrode inside, and the problem, especially where it's a bush, is that if you put an impact gun on that and rattle that back and forward, all the impact rattling is absorbed by the rubber bush. So all that's absorbed. So I've had it before where I've had a very, very long ratchet or a bar on this, and you're able to twist that round, and all your force is going into twisting the rubber bush. So there's another method you need to come up with, and that is you want to try to push the bolt out. Now, you don't need to push it right out the whole way. You just need to get it moving a bit, So it's just to move it, because the twisting action doesn't do anything, because, as I say, you're just moving the bush. Impact tools you're just wasting your time. No matter how good they are, how strong they are, or whatever. So you see all these bolts all getting butchered up, where people are putting spanners on and baiting it and all that there. That will do absolutely nothing if this bolt is rusted in a bushing. Alright, so where you would see this very commonly is a rear swinging arm, and say you were changing a spring and you wanted to drop the swinging arm at the back, and you would have your swinging arm coming down, and that will go on. It's trapped in there like that, and so you might see guys on the YouTube or whatever, and they try to get in here and try and cut the head of the bolt or grind that or something like that, and then they maybe, I don't know where they go from there, heat it all up, rack the bush, and they end up just taking the whole thing out, and it's just a racking match. This is a method with this ball joint separator, and it's clearly not designed to do that. It's a ball joint separator, but I have used this on this problem, and it has worked. Not guaranteed, depends how bad this is. If this is rusted solid, you end up just cutting the tripe out of it and burning it, and whatever your fav method is, So your swinging arm will go onto there and onto there, and nightmare to try and get that cut. You're there for forever, and you end up wrecking everything, and you'll definitely end up scoping that, or putting marks on it, taking pieces of metal off, which you don't want to do, So the job turns out to be a lot more expensive, a lot more time consuming. You're going to end up having to get a new bush, and you haven't got one, and all you're doing is changing the spring, for example. So I'm going to do a wee experiment here, and I put this as a suggestion in somebody else's video, and then I think it was the Bear Lane Gibson that says, "Oh, I want to see that." Mechanic Matt did a video on this where he sort of talked his way through it and stuff like that. But this is a setup. Now, this is completely non-scientific. I don't know whether will replicate real world situation, but it's just to give you an idea of what I'm on about. So this clearly isn't rusted in there, and it's what I had lying about, and it is what it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to JB weld, which is probably the strongest glue that I have, and 2-pack sort of glue. You mix it with hardener and glue this bolt in here, and leave it for 24 hours, and then we're going to try and get it out. And if it doesn't come out, it doesn't matter. If it's, you know, this is probably going to be chucked anywho. So I'm sure you've seen these C-clamps before, and I've done videos where I'm using that, taking ball joints out, and I have a couple of these, you know, with various adapters and all that, carry on. But there's a few things you can do. I have a different pin here, so if I have a problem with this opening here, you know, I can change this pin to there. And the only problem with that is, you know, it sort of maybe skates off on you a wee bit. But then this is one for going on to, you know, the bottom of a ball joint. It's specifically designed for Mercedes, and that goes in, so that won't go anywhere. There's a bit of a divot in the middle of it, which a lot of times these bolts have, you know, a pointy end on them, and that recesses into there. So I use that reduces or takes away the risk of any sort of slippage, because you're putting a bit of force on this, you know. The other thing is now to clear the head bolt, you know, I have various adapters here, which this one will work great in this case. So it depends. This is an 18mm headed bolt here, and so that'll go through that, and that fits in there, you know. So as you can tell, I have done this before. Larger adapter, that'll go on the whole bush. But you wanna, if you can, press against the sleeve, because if you go over the bush, if it is a bush situation you're doing now, if you go over the bush like that and you put that bolt out, well, you're just pushing the core of the bush then, you know. So if you can, now if you don't have all these adapters, you can just use ordinary sockets. So what size that? There's right. So that's the size of the bolt head. But what I like to do is go up one size. That's 19mm there, so it doesn't, you know, catch or whatever, and that will go onto our washer there. Or if you had the swinging arm in there, it'll catch onto that. Now that will then not get caught in the ball joint press. So what size is that? There's a 30mm socket. So you just hook through sockets that do, and that goes into there like that, and you can sort of stack it up. Now the only problem with doing that is you're way limited on this width here. This is probably the way to C-clamp that I've ever came across, and they don't really make them any longer, but maybe they do. I haven't got one anyway. But anywho, without further ado, as I say, this is completely non-scientific. It's just to give you an idea of different methods for approaching different problems. So I think you get the idea what I'm on about. So the other one that people do, of course, is the bait the end of that, you know. But again, all you're doing is moving the rubber. It's all you know, it's shock absorption, you know. So all the impact's being absorbed. So we're going to use this stuff. This is not an advert for this stuff at all. This is what I use. Seems to be, you know, it does gluey things here. Gets you out of a hole sometimes. And this is a brand new packet. And we're going to sacrifice my new purchase. I didn't buy this to do this, by the way. So this that was a new packet that was ready to go, and we're gonna get a drop of that mixed up, and we're gonna get it on the shank. I'm gonna leave the washer on. I think it's best to leave the washer on because I don't want the goo coming out and actually gluing on the head of the bolt on the inside there, you know. So I'm going to leave the washer on, and if anything, it's going to then, if any does come out, it'll stick the washer to that, but that'll not impede. So, to me, it's as real world as I can sort of get it, and I don't want to be sort of doing something that, sort of cheats a wee bit or something like that. And I'm not gonna dress this up or rub it or key it or anything like that. I'm just the way it is. We're gonna put a bit of JB Weld on from about there right down to the end, the whole way around. Stick it in. I'm gonna put a spacer and a nut and a bolt in the end of it, and we'll throw it outside. It's quite sunny outside at the minute, so we're gonna throw it outside in the sun and come back to it 24 hours later. So here we go. We'll have our JB Weld on. Well, a good bit of the shank there, most of it anyway, and we'll stick it in. And a good lot's going to slide back out again. We'll just get something to wipe off the excess. Here we go. So that's as much as you can get on it, really, So there we go, and we'll put a spacer and a washer and a bolt and a nut on it here, and we'll give it a bit of a tighten, just to hold it in place, just so it doesn't move with when it cures. I'm going to put that outside. It's a sunny afternoon, and we'll come back to it in 24 hours. Just out checking on my time lapse setup here, but I don't want to show you. Something really bright light in the sky. It appears to be dropping about a bit. It's pretty clear. Night tonight. Right. Apparently it's Venus. It's very low in the sky at this time of year. Early April. Apparently it's Venus. It's just flickering there through the atmosphere. Gives me the impression it was moving. But that's what it is. So I'm told. Right, so that's our test subject back in again after being out all night. And no, I'm not convinced it was Venus either, but anyway, on to this. So I've put my wee adapter in there, and it's just because of the length of this bolt. So in the real world, you wouldn't have a bolt that length. I wouldn't imagine. I could cut a bit off it, but I don't want to. I want to maybe save that bolt, So we're going to just give it a bit of a tighten here. Let's see if there's anything going to happen. And yeah, it is moving in, but is it just mushrooming the bolt maybe? So we'll maybe get an impact on it and give it a rattle. Or is this just going to bend that bolt maybe? that JB Weld would have not good. Here we go, boys. Let's see what happens. I'm going to put it on an impact. It's not on full horses at the minute, but we'll see what happens. Yes! Well, it's definitely pushed the bolt out, but in case you think that it's loose, it definitely isn't. We see this here. So that's a brand new bush. And here we go again. It's even a longer spanner. Here we go again. Slightly bigger spanner this time. So that's what your force is getting into. Your force is just getting into turning that, compressing that bush. So I'm going to have to either press this out the whole way. I might give it a rattle impact here and maybe loosen it a little bit. But I doubt this will do anything because, as I said before, this bush will just take all the forces away, But we'll give it a go anyway. Bigger impact. The steady as bolt head now. There's just that wee bit of impact in there and it's starting to chew this bolt head. So yeah. So I think that's the example of, an impact isn't going to do this, for the reasons that I said. That's just bouncing inside the head of the bolt, the socket, I'll see if we can get this out the rest of the way now. No adapter on at the top at all this time. Jeez, that's tight. So it's actually trying to push the bush out. We can see from doing that with no adapter on it, no adapter on there, it is pushed. It has actually pushed the bush through there. Well, it's trying to push it through. So we can see that is near enough level with there, and that's well protruding, and that's more or less flush. So yeah, but okay. But in the real world, you would have whatever it's attached to there to hopefully prevent that. But it just shows you that this JB Weld here's holding on to this like it's gripping well. It's more than I would have thought, actually. Right, back to our original setup. We'll just push this bolt out here. Well, hopefully. And hopefully it won't fall this time. We're getting there. Now I'm going to push it back through again, and let me try and loosen this thing up. So gonna drop my magic stuff on it there. Right, well, let's see what the crack is now. Give that a good old plaster in there. And here we go. Oh, jeez. Can you more or less get a full. Oh, it's tightening up again. I was just about to say I can get a full 360-degree turn on there, but she started to bite. So I put the impact in that again. It'll spin, no problem. Here we go. Try number 3 or 4 or whatever it is. What's that? There we go. That held it quite well. Put up a fight, but we got it right. And well, that bush is now in the wrong place, and that wishbone. I think just shoved in a wee bit. Well, there you go, boys. I think that's it. There's nothing more to demonstrate. It's as real world. It wasn't a real world job, but it was as real world as I can get it. So it's a mock up of a rusted bolt in a bush or a pinch bolt. Now I can tell you, there's a bit of heat in that still, and that's from it's doing all that spinning, and with the bolt stuck in there. There's what you do to the head of it. If you can focus, so that was a good bolt. I know it's not brand new, but it was there was no damage on it when we started, and that was just doing that rattling. So that's what happens whenever it's in a bush, especially because, as I said before, the bush just it absorbs all the impact forces and any force you're putting on. You put all your weight on a spanner or a breaker bar, and all you're doing is twisting that bush. So there's no actual force going on the bolt at all. But for a pinch bolt or a bolt in a strut or any bolt that doesn't come out, and it's as long as it's not threaded in, of course. If it's just that type of situation there, ball joint, C clamp, ball joint separator or clamp, whatever you want to call it, that could be your savior. And that was with no heat, no mucking about, so that bush is usable. In this case here, it's just a matter of, press it back in a wee bit. But anyway, hope that gives you a few ideas. Just keep that in mind. Just one for the back burner, So if you watch this video its entirety, you'll say, I think I've seen a wee solution to that before. And by all means, refer back to it. The wee adapters that I use there, as I said, it helps if you don't have the length. That is an unusually it's very, very rarely they'll be that long. Let's put it that way, Be normally probably about that length. So that there does usually do it, unless you have a very, very big, beefy, trailing arm thing about that length or something. You're not going to get that in. But it's helpful having wee adapters that can assist you with that. But you can use the stacking socket method, so that your head of your bolt goes into that socket, and that is the movement there that's available. So it's about an inch, you know, and you just press it out the other way, and do that out and in, out and in, out and in a few times, and then you once you get a bit of fluid onto the shank, you know, once you get a bit of fluid on the shank, then you get the shank back in again, you know, that's you're on the way to a winner. So anyway, waffled on for long enough. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much for watching, as ever, and all the best. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that, whatever it is you have to do, and all the best. Bye bye.